Hey YouTube, Wes here, checking back in with a brand new episode of The Vinyl Survivor. I believe we're on episode number 143. Hope you're all doing well, having a great day, great night. Whenever it is you're watching this, thank you for tuning in. This is the show where I talk about the records I brought into my collection, let you know what I thought of them after giving them some serious listening time, and let you know whether they're going to be staying in my collection or whether they just didn't turn out for me for whatever reason. Talk about this, what I thought of them, and let's go ahead and get into this episode. The first album I have here is the 1970 album by the British rock group Badfinger, titled No Dice. Pretty cool album cover on this one. There you go, and then the gatefold, pretty cool, nice shot of the band there. Very much a sort of a British rock group. They get compared to the Beatles a lot. They are on Apple Records. They do have sort of a Beatle-y kind of British rock, pop rock kind of sound to them. Very enjoyable. I did like this album. Enjoyed listening to it. The most recognizable track on here is called No Matter What. And yeah, just a nice British rock album, and I think I'm gonna be keeping this in the collection. There's on the green Apple label. So No Dice by Badfinger gets a thumbs up for me, and it's staying in the collection. Okay, the next album I have to talk about today is I guess a soundtrack to the movie or a TV show The Long Riders, done by Ry Cooder from 1980. Ry Cooder is a very well-known sort of guitar player. He's a great guitar player. Very rootsy, bluesy, Americana sort of country vibes coming in there. Very unique, very interesting sound. This had a really cool sound to it. Really a sort of a modern take on a Western kind of theme, or an 80s sort of take on a Western theme, and not in a cheesy kind of way. Just sounds a little more modern. The guitar is mic'd very closely, so you get a lot of dynamics. You can hear all the plucks and everything on the guitar. Really cool guitar player. If you ever find Ry Cooder's stuff, I do suggest you check them out. And this was a really cool soundtrack to listen to. I have not seen, I believe this was a TV show. I've not seen this show before, but a really cool soundtrack, and I enjoyed listening to it. And that's on the white Warner Brothers label. So album number 2, Ry Cooder with the soundtrack to The Long Riders. Another one that gets a thumbs up from me. I definitely enjoyed it, and one that is staying in my collection. Okay, moving right along, another excellent guitar player, but in the blues vein, and this is Big Bill Broonzy. This is the Archive of Folk Music album that they did of his songs. They did a lot of sort of folk artists, did sort of, I guess, more inexpensive compilations of folk artists. They got like Joan Baez and some other people that they have Woody Guthrie, some other people like that. They did compilations of their music, and this is a good compilation of Big Bill Broonzy's music. You know, as I said, very much a guitar picking, country blues kind of sound. Really enjoyable, just good blues, country blues kind of stuff. Archive of Folk Music there is on orange label there. Yeah, these collections are nice. They're nice compilations. They're not really high quality, but they're decent, and they're fun to pick up, and they're usually not too expensive. So yeah, that Archive of Folk Music Big Bill Broonzy compilation is staying in my collection. Gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, some good blues music on there. All right, next thing I have to talk about, staying in sort of the country rock kind of vein, we have Arlo Guthrie, One Night. This is his album with Shenandoah. So yeah, cool, kind of a cool country folk kind of sound here. Really dug it. Back cover. And once again on the white Warner Brothers label. This album is the one that has the story of Reuben Clamso on it, if you're familiar with Arlo Guthrie's more popular stuff. That's on here. And yeah, just a nice album from him. So that one, it gets a thumbs up for me and it's staying in my collection. Alright, next up, I won't spend too much time on this one because I believe I've covered it before in the series, but this is an upgrade copy of Adam Ant's Friend or Foe from 1982. Adam Ant is an 80s new wave kind of artist. Very cool album here. You got the title track, Friend or Foe. Goody Two Shoes is on here. Really cool closing track, Man Called Marco. If you want to check out an interesting kind of artsy, art pop kind of piece. Really cool track there. But yeah, really good, solid album. I love Adam Ant. I love this kind of 80s new wave kind of stuff, and really dug this album. And that's on the Epic label. And this one also has an insert with lyrics and photos on it. So yeah, that's Adam Ant, Friend or Foe, upgrade copy for me, and staying in the collection. Alright, next up, a live album from the UK folk group Fairport Convention. This is In Real Time Live 87. This is actually not really a live album. It was done in studio and they sort of dubbed in live audience sort of sounds and stuff into it. It's kind of one of those played live in studio kind of things, but a pretty enjoyable record. This isn't definitely not where to start with Fairport Convention. It's definitely not one to spend a lot of money on as far as Fairport Convention goes, but if you enjoy Fairport Convention and you see this cheap, it's one to pick up. And that's what happened to me. I found it for $1, picked it up, and it's going to be staying in the collection. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I don't care that it's a fake live album. It's enjoyable to listen to, and them having that studio control makes it where it sounds really good, which, you know, I have trouble in the past. I've had trouble in the past with live albums that just don't sound that great, and I'm okay with it being sort of fake. And it's on the Island Rainbow label. Really nice. Okay, next up, seems like we got a lot of guitar pickers in this bunch here. Maybe we'll call it guitar picking or something like that. We got Chet Atkins' 53rd album. This is his album titled Street Dreams. 1986 is the year on this one. Definitely one of his last albums. Kind of a mixed bag here. Some really great stuff, some not so great stuff. He tries to do some covers on here. Doesn't always work. But an interesting album nonetheless. Some really good guitar picking. It's Chet Atkins. He's an excellent guitar player. He does a really interesting version of Classical Gas on here. If you have the chance to check that track out, yeah, Classical Gas is one of those tracks that's just cool by itself, but his version of it I thought was really neat. I really enjoyed hearing it. It's a little bit different than what you usually hear with the tracks. So yeah, definitely dug it, and it was cool to hear this album. The Red Columbia label. Chet Atkins, Street Dreams. Like I said, the 80s sort of synthy, very tight production sort of comes through a lot in this, but if you can look past that a little bit and listen to the guitar playing, it's enjoyable. And like I said, that cover of Classical Gas is really cool, so definitely worth keeping it just for that. Okay, next up, moving into some sort of prog folk kind of areas here. This is Renaissance with their 9th album titled Azur d'Or from 1979. Yeah, if you're familiar with Renaissance, they're kind of a British folk prog kind of sound. This one gets, since it's getting near the late 70s, it's getting a bit ABBA influenced kind of sound, not pure disco, but a little bit more poppy, kind of keyboardy kind of sounding stuff. But good, and it still has its proggy moments, and still an interesting album, and it's one I'm going to be keeping. And that's on the Sire Yellow label. So yeah, that's Renaissance with Azur d'Or. Definitely gets one that gets a thumbs up from me. I enjoyed listening to this, and it's going to be staying in my collection. Okay, next thing I have to share with you tonight is an album from, I believe they're a Canadian group titled Rock and Hide. This is their album titled Under the Volcano from 1987. Definitely a very 80s, very tightly produced, kind of big arena kind of sound to them. Yeah, it definitely has that 80s big sound to it. You know, very tight drums, keyboards kind of stuff. But interesting musically, some interesting songs. I definitely dug listening to this. Some of the themes get a little bit Christian at times, but it's not like in your face. It's not throwing it down your, you know. It's just, they're just Christian themes, and it's good music. So actually I put on here that these are some of the ex-members of the band Payolas. If you're familiar with that group, they sound like a lighter version of Asia to me. If you think of Asia, that sort of big rockin' sound, 80s sound, a little bit toned down from that, and you got this group Rock and Hide. I get an insert with some photos of the band members and lyrics on it. Just nice. Don't always get that on 80s productions because the vinyl thing was kind of dying out at that point. And this is on the Rainbow Capital label, of course the 80s Rainbow Capital label. Okay, and the last thing I have to talk about with you today, unfortunately we're going to have to end this on a sort of down note, but this is Silver Convention with Madhouse. Silver Convention are a disco band. This is from 1976. It's kind of funky disco. I may pass this on to someone who I think might like it more than me, but for me this just didn't do it. As I said, it's kind of a funky disco kind of sound, just not really my thing. I enjoyed listening to it, but yeah, it's just not really doing it for me. It is on the Midland International label, which is a label I am not familiar with. Not seen this label before. So yeah, that's Silver Convention with Madhouse, the only one I believe that didn't make it this time. So that is going to do it for episode number 143 of The Vinyl Survivor. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you aren't already, please think about subscribing so you'll be kept up to date with future releases of Vinyl Survivor videos and other vinyl and music related videos I make here on the channel. Have a great day, great night, and we'll see you again real soon. Cheers.